Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Steelers Now, Steelers Night Shift. I'm your host, Joe Morris. I'm back with the tie. I am joined by, for the second time, Mr. Brendan Howell here on the show. He is usually in the locker room and on the feet or on the ground rather, with Mr. Alan Saunders, who is not joining us today. But we are always happy to have you, my friend. How are you doing today?
I'm good. It's funny. I'm still recovering from Monday night, honestly. Like getting done there, leaving. I think I got out of there around 3:30. Got home somewhere around then. I might be mixing the times there, but yeah. Always takes a few days to kind of recoup after that. After being there late, like I love the primetime games when I would just watch. Now that I cover them, they're so cool, still an awesome vibe. But by the time you get out of there in the next few days, you're a bit tired.
No, I can imagine. I did the post game show, and I got everything uploaded by like 1 o'clock, and I was like, man, I don't see how they can do that because yeah, like to your point, I know Alan's there for just a little bit longer, and you were too. So kudos to you guys. But I feel you on the primetime part. Like when I was a kid in high school and even early in college, I was like, hell yeah, let's go primetime. I get to stay up late and watch the game. Now I'm like, please, dear God, stop scheduling us for prime time. I want to go to bed
Yeah.
by 8 or 9 o'clock. So, but with that being said, Steelers 8-6. 2 weeks after the chance came raining down, fire Tomlin. For now, things are maybe a little bit cooler. How was the atmosphere in that regard when
Yeah.
you were going to the stadium?
Definitely noticed. It seemed that the cold kind of had something to do with it. People were a little slow to get in there. I showed up just about as the doors were opening for everybody to get in. But like you said, a lot different. Renegade was not booed this time. I think it helped that they had the lead that they did when they played it. But yeah, very different from that Bills game, which kind of felt like a bit of a funeral afterwards. The locker room is always kind of touchy after the game. It's a bit awkward walking in there after they lose, especially a big game like that. But it's been different from both the player standpoint, the fan standpoint. It's a little bit more enjoyable when it's like this, I'd say.
No, certainly. It's always more fun when you win, is what my old man says whenever we go to Pittsburgh games. So, which the only loss I've had was 2023 in Indianapolis. So I've been very fortunate. But there is one game while we're talking about ties. Schoolhouse Rock here. He is shouting out the tie. The last time the Steelers played against the Detroit Lions, I was there in the cold, cold rain, and Ben Roethlisberger the night before tested positive for COVID. Mason Rudolph was suddenly right in there, and 16-16 tie. And here we are 4 years later. Steelers 8-6. Lions are 8-6. Lions much different than they were those 4 years ago. And by all accounts, let's call it what it is. They're Super Bowl contenders, especially in the NFC, where it's almost like the AFC to a degree. I mean, the Rams are very strong, but the Lions still have a shot. What are your thoughts on the tie? Not just the fashion, but the game from 2021. What are your thoughts kind of reflecting on that? And what are your thoughts on Sunday?
Yeah, that was an ugly game from what I remember. I've put a lot of that out of my mind, honestly. I remember that Mason played. Other than that, it's just like I said, I don't remember much of that, honestly. But I do remember the announcers. I think towards the end of that game, talking about Detroit, which you said wasn't really that great at that point. They were talking about how Dan Campbell could kind of build something, and obviously he has. Where the Lions are honestly, they're 8-6, like the Steelers are, but they're a scary team. They have talented players. They have Jameer Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, which are fun to watch. But I never thought Jared Goff would be a guy. But like when they traded for him, I thought that he would end up being their guy for like a season or two, and then a rookie quarterback could come in. They took Hendon Hooker at one point. He actually worked out with the Steelers yesterday, which I thought was really interesting. But yeah, they're same records, but the Lions are fighting to get back into the playoff picture, I think, at this point. So it's a very pivotal game for both teams. So obviously, the AFC NFC kind of helps in terms of that tiebreaker if that comes up. But yeah, this has been a game that's been circled as one of those, like, especially the past few weeks. Before the past few weeks, like the Steelers playing well, that I thought like maybe it could get ugly. Starting to believe a little bit heading into this one.
No, certainly. Yeah, and it still could get ugly because I mean, Sonic and Knuckles, they are definitely a lethal duo. And I like what you mentioned about Goff there because I do remember 4 years ago watching him. I mean, he had a bad game. It was not pretty at all. The only reason the Lions ran it is because the run defense, which later on that season pretty much collapsed at that point, they let up 200 something yards and kept the Lions in it, plus a couple of Steelers turnovers as well. So, but yeah, no, it's very interesting to see the trajectory of these teams kind of coming to a collision course, and here we are. We'll definitely see how it is. While we're kind of talking about quarterbacks, we'll kind of jump into our comments here. Uh, Very fitting name here. We Want Mayava says, with the amount of quarterbacks not coming out, do we wait till next year or do we pick a quarterback second or third round? And it's interesting because Jade Mayava, the USC quarterback, agreed terms to return 2026. Now you're seeing Arch Manning returning. Ty Simpson could return. Dante Moore could return.
Lenore Sellers.
Darian, yeah, Lenore Sellers returned. You're right. And even like Darian Mensah, he's expected to return. He's talking about potentially declaring. But suddenly, a class that looked really deep in preseason, maybe starting to thin out there.
Yeah, I've actually been thinking about this recently, especially with all those guys that are coming back. Like the Steelers front office does seem very set on getting their quarterback of the future this offseason, but with it thinning out like it has, and with the Steelers playing like they do, even if they don't make playoffs, I mean, I feel like they've performed well enough to this point where their draft slot is down far enough where they can't really trade up very easily to get one of those quarterbacks, especially if there's only two or three that are worth taking at the top of the first round. The veteran approach has worked the past few years, especially over the past few weeks. We've seen Aaron Rodgers kind of step it back up. Look how he kind of used to, except for being a little older. Last year we saw with Russell Wilson, it was good until it wasn't. I see them this offseason if these quarterbacks continue to decide to come back, and now it's easier for them to go back to college. They get paid. Like they get the NIL. They don't have to jump out and kind of hurry to the NFL. And you figure in those college towns, they're being treated very well. So I could see someone. I saw someone tweet today like Joe Flacco could be the next Steelers quarterback, which I wouldn't probably enjoy that much, but it maybe something like that would make sense. I'm not saying Flacco, but another veteran in itself.
If Flacco came and joined Pittsburgh and started a game, he will complete the AFC North gauntlet, be able to snap his fingers like Thanos.
I wonder how many players have done
that. That is a good little quiz there. I mean, I can't think of many guys. The only guy that comes to mind that might have done it was Josh Johnson. He's been practically on half of every team's roster, so he might have done it. But no, I don't know. That would be something unprecedented and something to monitor, maybe. D School 86, in kind of response to the quarterback, he says, take a wide receiver DB if no quarterback's available in the first round. And I mean, you got guys like Jordan Tyson, Carnell Tate, Makai Lemon, and Denzel Boston are even kind of in that first round conversation. How many of those guys do you think are relatively within reach? And would you do that if you were Omar Khan and there wasn't a receiver, or I guess a quarterback that you were crazy about trading up for?
Wide receiver makes the next best sense, I would say. Corner could be a bit of a question after the season. James Pierre is probably going to get paid. Joey Porter Jr. is up for a big contract, most likely. We'll see what they do with Jalen Ramsey. Asante Samuel could come back. I mean, he had an interception the other night, and he seems to be a guy that they might like going forward. Allen has mentioned time and again that he's a Jordan Tyson fan, which I saw recently. Started at Colorado with Deion Sanders, transferred to Arizona State, had success there. I've seen Carnell Tate the whole time he's been playing in college. I'm an Ohio State fan, so I'm a little bit partial to him. Like I said, though, I think wide receiver would make the next best sense. I don't know if those guys will be there. I don't know how many wide receiver needy teams will be ahead of the Steelers. But you want to get someone to complement DK Metcalf in a better way than kind of the mix of guys they have right now, and Adam Thielen. And I don't think Adam Thielen had a reception last game, but his veteran present kind of helps on the field, I guess. MVS, he had a touchdown. But the Steelers aren't going to head into next season without a wide receiver too. Like, I don't see that happening. So if the quarterback is kind of that question, I would expect them to take one of those wide receivers and see them in black and gold next year.
No, it's funny you mentioned, they're not going to do it next year, or not go into next year without a wide receiver too, but it had to happen last year and now this year. Maybe third time's a charm for Mr. Omar Khan. Speaking of Mr. Omar Khan, he has a couple of comments here. The first one, he says, hope and pray dear immense how declares for NFL drafts what Steeler fans should be doing, which I have to agree there. And then the second part, kind of talking about this weekend's game. Can't wait to see Jack Sawyer versus Penei Sewell snaps. Yeah, I saw Herbig was did not practice today, and I don't think Watt's going to be back. Probably, honestly, I would not be surprised if he's not back for the regular season, but I don't know. What are your thoughts on Mr. Sawyer going up against a former top 5 pick or top 10 pick?
I don't think Jack Sawyer has had a chance to avenge what happened in Michigan 2 seasons ago with Ohio State, where that wasn't in Michigan, actually. That was in Columbus, the flag planting and all that. But maybe I might go up and ask him that this week, actually, if there's any extra added motivation going to that state, being around those same sort of fans that cheer for the Wolverines. Obviously, we've seen what happened with Michigan over the past few weeks. I'm sure a lot of Ohio State people aren't shedding any tears about that. But yeah, he doesn't like Michigan, so he might be a little extra charged up there in Detroit, even though he's going against a guy as good as Penei Sewell.
No, certainly. And Schoolhouse Rocks, while we're kind of talking about this matchup, he asked a really good question. Is this a real barometer to show if we can contend in the postseason? And I do think that if you're going to win a playoff game this year, you got to beat a team like the Lions. Reason why? They do a lot of things right. They've been very competitive in the postseason these past couple of years. I think they were one and done last postseason, but overall, I mean, they stack up well against the Steelers, and as it looks, you're going to have either, if you win your division, you're going to have either Buffalo or the Chargers at home. So possibly the Patriots, depending on how that shakes out. But with that being said, I think this is a barometer test. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, both you mentioned Buffalo and Los Angeles there. We've seen how both of those games have gone this year. I as of right now, heading into this game, I think that if those games are played again, I'm not going to say the result changes, the outcome changes, but I don't think that Aaron Rodgers plays as badly against Buffalo again. Obviously, I mean, they were up at halftime of that game before kind of the wheels fell off in the third quarter. And then in Los Angeles, he also had a really bad game that I think at the end of the broadcast they were showing. That was one of the few games I hadn't gone out to. And at the end of the broadcast, they're showing like this is his third worst game in terms of, I think it was QB rating or something like that, ever. So if those two teams come into Pittsburgh, it's colder. We asked Johnny Smith after the game the other night, like these warm weather teams, when they come into cold like it was the other night, if it changes. And he said, having been a guy who played in Miami last year, he's playing in Pittsburgh this year, he had a unique vantage point. He's like, yeah, like it changes. It's definitely different for those warm weather teams to come in, play in the cold. The Bills, they're used to it. They play in 3 inches of snow when needed. So I think both of those games, I'm not going to say it'd be a favorable matchup for the Steelers. I think that they would be underdogs in both of them in terms of like betting lines and stuff. Pay attention to that. But I don't think Aaron Rodgers would have as bad games against them as he did the first time around. And Detroit is a team. If they go up there and they play well this week, even if they lose, I think that should provide fans some hope that they can go into the postseason. And in a wide open AFC that is going to be out without Lamar Jackson in the playoffs in that case, it'll be without Patrick Mahomes in that case. I think fans should kind of get their hopes up a little bit that streak finally breaks this year.
And it would certainly be great to break that streak, and maybe everyone can start seeing the trajectory going up for certain there. We have a couple more comments here. Zarina, while we were talking about Mason Rudolph earlier, they say Mason Rudolph is the worst quarterback I've ever seen, and I have to disagree. I watched Nathan Peterman throw like 5 pick sixes in one game. Yeah, no, I have to disagree. I get it. Mason Rudolph can be kind of a easy target to kind of lay some shots on. But here's what I will say about Mason: he's a backup. Anytime your backup quarterback has to play, the chances of you winning a bunch of games is already going to be pretty slim. But if there is a backup quarterback you want to have Mason Rudolph, someone who started. And a reason why for that, he is someone that's going to lead. Look at how things unfolded since he was drafted. His future Hall of Fame quarterback started over him. Very clearly said he didn't want him on the team. Well, maybe not clearly stated, but he gave anything but his approval of the draft pick. And then he got thrown into the fire in 2019 with, all of his weapons getting hurt, offensive line digressing. Wildcat Randy wasn't a very good offensive coordinator either. And then had the whole, Myles Garrett situation and didn't go well the next couple of years overall. He could have very easily have just, said, hey, look, just trade me, get what you can. I don't want to be here, because he didn't feel like they were doing everything for him. But he worked hard and he played hard. He got his opportunity, didn't look back. So I'll always appreciate Mason for that, especially when another quarterback who was drafted quit on his team, in essence. So, but that's just my thoughts. And I know a lot of little Pickett believers are going to come for me, but that's okay. That's why I always appreciate Mason. He is someone that you want on your team.
Yeah, he's a guy people seem to like too. Like in the locker room, like he's a guy people seem to gravitate towards. Like not just being a quarterback, but like being the person that he is. Which sounds cliche, but like he does seem like a guy that other guys like to be around. His locker is a few down from Aaron's. The quarterback room has talked about how funny he is. Like he like jokes around and stuff like that. He wasn't the worst quarterback I'd ever seen in that 3-game stretch where he brought them the playoffs a few years ago. So we'll always have fans will always have that to thank him for, because that season could have gone off the rails. And if it did, maybe we're talking about what would it be? One playoff appearance in the past however many years. Since Ben retired. So yeah, for a backup, he's serviceable. Obviously you don't want him being your everyday starter.
Absolutely. I think that's the big thing is he's the backup in this league, but he's a pretty solid backup in my opinion. Omar Con Artist having another comment saying that Zarina must really hate Douglas Berry and James Chamberlain on Twitter. If you don't know who those are, folks, go get on Steelers Twitter or Steelers X, whatever it's called now, just for a little bit, and you'll see a dissertation by Mr. Chamberlain about Mason at some point in the day. So, but no, I think he is a very polarizing figure there. So we shall see. Brad on Facebook has a question here. We kind of mentioned it earlier. He says, I heard that we held a workout for Hendon Hooker. I know it's not an answer, or that's not the answer at quarterback, but he was wondering, is that true? And we can confirm. Mr. Hendon Hooker, the former Tennessee quarterback, was in the building. Doesn't look like he got signed, but yeah, it was a little interesting there, especially after John Rice Plumlee got released.
Yeah,
practice squad.
Yeah, and they re-signed him today. I saw, and you have to figure with the Hooker thing, too. He was with that team in the preseason. He might have some sort of knowledge of how they run their offense or what they run. And I'm not saying that's the only reason they bring him in. He seemed like a talented quarterback when he was at Tennessee, but their quarterback room is kind of set right now with Aaron, obviously, Mason, like we just talked about, and Will. Yeah, my headline for that story was actually competitive advantage ? Were they bringing him in to see if they could kind of pick his brain a little bit real quickly, just to kind of get a bit of an edge? I guess we'll see on Sunday.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, it could be a competitive advantage, but I don't think he really started any games for him. But hey, I mean, just being in the locker room, in the meeting rooms, who knows? Maybe they might have said, hey, appreciate you coming to work out. Hey, let's pick your brain real quick. I guess that's the only way to get intel without going directly in, right? Yeah. Extra BLK, well, we were kind of talking about quarterbacks earlier. He says, as long as it's not Kyler Murray, he sucks, which he also kind of said that he does not have positive opinions of Mason Rudolph while we were talking about him. But um, what what is it with folks wanting Kyler Murray in Pittsburgh? Like, I don't see it. Maybe I get it. He can make some plays with his legs, and he has a strong arm. But dude's, I think I'm about the same height as him, and yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I thought he was an exciting quarterback to watch when he was at Oklahoma. Like he was like must see yeah, it was Oklahoma. He was like
Yep.
must see TV when he was there. I enjoyed watching him. He won a Heisman, so I guess like there's the fact that people think, hey, he won a Heisman, the talent is there. And Arizona hasn't had success with like any quarterback over the past, I don't know, 40 years other than Carson Palmer. So, like I'm sure like the graphics that come up with like how many quarterbacks the Browns have or have had, how many quarterbacks the Bears have had. Like the Cardinals are probably up there too. But I don't know. I think he's an exciting player. He had that Hail Mary. I think that was a COVID season that went to DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, I would rather watch Kyler Murray play football than Joe Flacco. So if we're stuck with those two options, I'm choosing Kyler Murray.
No, that's fair. And I think if any of these quarterbacks that look like they're about to be cut bait find their way in Pittsburgh, I highly doubt the Steelers will trade for them. It will probably be a situation where, kind of like the Russell Wilson situation, actually, where he was getting cut and he was allowed to go negotiate terms, and the Steelers signed him for veteran minimum. So I don't know. We'll see there, but yeah, I don't know. I think Kyler Murray, to your point, was a very exciting college football player. But in the pros, it's just other than like one really good season, it hasn't been there. Um, we have review here. He's asking, "Yo, bruh, where is Smitty or Allen? Who are these two high schoolers?" I appreciate that. As a 31, almost 32-year-old dude, I appreciate you making me feel youthful there, man. I'm Job Morrison. I'll reintroduce myself. This is Mr. Brendan Howe. He is typically boots on the ground in the locker room, and I just run my mouth and write about superstitions for the Steelers now. That's pretty much what I do. So appreciate you tuning in, and they will be back for the afternoon drive tomorrow. But we appreciate you tuning in and giving us our youthful, make us feel youthful.
Yeah, I'm getting to the age too. Like we started out here talking about like me being tired for a day and a half after Monday, and like I don't know. I thought the beard had made me a little bit older. That's what I rock with. But yeah, I'm at the age where like getting called a high schooler doesn't really offend me. Maybe like maybe like 6 years ago, I'd been like, come on now, like I'm 21 years old. But no, I'll take that. I appreciate it.
No, 100%. I mean, yeah, us talking about how much we dread late nights. Yeah, you can tell you tuned in a little late, but we appreciate you tuning in nonetheless, man. Appreciate that shout out. All right. And Zarina kind of has a follow up on the Hendon Hooker thing. What's in it for Hendon Hooker if he comes and just works out and maybe provides a little intel? I'll let you start with that one. What your thoughts are?
I was thinking that same thing as I was writing that last night. Actually, he got released by the Panthers last month, so I think it was November 4th that he got released. He was on the practice squad for a little while. I think it was practice squad, but you figure like he's a guy. He, like you mentioned, he has 90 starts. He played in 3 games. I think he threw like 6, 7, 8 passes while he was there. So there's not a lot of like NFL film knowledge on him. So I feel like anytime a guy would get a call, like, hey, we know you played for this team, we're going to work you out. It's an opportunity to, one, get in the building, show what your arm can do, show what you know. Sorry, that's my dog. Show how smart of a player you are. Like, he got in the building. I think that's what's in it for them, is just getting in that building and getting that chance to show teams like what they can do.
No, I have to agree there. Anytime any athlete gets a call, unless unless the Steelers call Big Ben, he might say, "Look, I'm retired. Sorry, thanks, but no thanks." But even then, I don't know.
That's what he said on Sunday. I'm not sure about that though.
Oh, okay, interesting. But I mean, if you're an NFL athlete, you get a call from a franchise team. You're not currently on a roster. 9 times out of 10, you're going to go and you're going to do what you can, because every opportunity is coveted in this league, and even if it's a simple workout.
It didn't seem either from reading what Dan Campbell said about him as his time was running out there in Detroit, that it was a very like good relationship between them. I'm obviously I don't know for certain. I'm not in Detroit, but like the quote that I put in that story was like, uh, they don't know. There's only so much you can develop as a quarterback. I know he said that for a fact, and he's like, how worth it is it if you have a DB that can make the roster, like a younger guy, a young up and coming player at a different position that can help out instead of like a he would have been a third string quarterback behind Kyle Allen, who played for the Steelers last year. So maybe it's also just to be like to go in and get back at the Lions for maybe how that relationship went towards the end. It seems like it was a little rocky there.
Imagine if that's like ends up like being the the behind the scenes like ooh a little drama there,
Yeah.
and then the Steelers pull off a win. Does he get a petty game ball? 'Cause we gave away a couple of those on Monday night to Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith. Does would he, Mr. Hooker, get a petty game ball in that
Do
situation?
you have to be on the roster to get one of those? I think like you imagine just one of those showing up in your mail like 3 days later. You're like,
Right?
what's coming here from Pittsburgh? And instead of a contract, it's a football to put in a trophy case. Like
I don't know. I think that'd be great. Honestly, just get a petty game ball just for throwing in your contributions. So, all right. Well, we're caught up on the comments here, and so let's kind of talk some interesting things about Detroit that I like to talk about, and that is Detroit style pizza and Little Caesars. Little Caesars, the official pizza of the NFL, who specialize in Detroit style pizza. Are you in or out on said pizza?
I grew up on Little Caesars. Like not grew up on it, but I had three siblings. My dad like didn't make the most money. So whenever we went out to get pizza, there was a Little Caesars in Butler. It was usually the $5 hot and ready's. And you can feed like four kids, two adults with like two and a half of those. So there was a point early in my career when I was just working at the Butler Eagle where I would leave on my break and I would just go get a $5 hot and ready. Like it's not terrible pizza. It's not the best, but I don't know. It's not as greasy as like Pizza Hut or Domino's or stuff like that. So, and like the crazy bread, they had the mac and cheese pizza at one point, or like the pretzel pizza. I like Little Caesars.
No, I do as well. So it's funny you mentioned that. Whenever I would go to my grandparents in Alabama on the weekends with my brother and sister, just whenever we would go out there, usually on a weekend. When we had pizza, that's what it was, Little Caesars. So, but I will say this as I've gotten older, Little Caesars, if they make it right, it's great. Um, but if it's not put together, that's when I not put together well. That's when I say, well, it was $5. So that's how I
Not
feel
losing
about it.
much. Like yeah. What was I gonna say? There was something else about Little Caesars there. Like they used to be in the Kmart's. Remember when those were a thing? Like
Yes, yeah, I remember that.
food courts. So yeah, usually you're going in there. Like the person at the register doesn't really care to talk to you much. It's kind of just we're making these pizzas at a crazy rate and making sure people get out of here, and we're not making like much money, making like minimum wage probably. So yeah, I've always thought like the people who do the spinning the dough on the fingers, cool, like that sort of
Yep.
thing. I have seen other sauces made which could like ruin it for you, but it's like, oh well, like
Yeah,
I don't know.
I used to work at Little Caesars when I was in college. I was only there for like a few months, but yeah, if you like super fresh sauce, Little Caesars ain't for you. Sorry, man. But
I want to hear
um,
Alan's thoughts on Little Caesars. Like I know he's like a pizza aficionado, so I'm gonna ask him probably as we're driving up there on Saturday. I'll see what he thinks of it.
there we go. And you'll have to put me on speakerphone or something so I can tune in because I'll be curious to hear about that. And hey, you mentioned Kmart. That shows we're not high schoolers. This Kmart isn't around anymore. Oh man, Father Abraham has a question for us as we're kind of getting close to punching out here. He asks, "How are you guys feeling about the Steelers' run defense after the last performance, especially with Harmon looking like he'll be back?" And Harmon today was a full participant, so I believe Tomlin said on his press conference yesterday that he probably was um, healthy enough to go, but because of lack of snaps, they decided to hold him out. I think it's going to definitely help. but I am a little worried about that spot that Watt plays and where Herbig was. Now he's going to be looking out, so it's almost kind of like a wash for me, if
Yeah.
you will. But I don't know. What are your thoughts, though?
From what I saw, they practiced there at Exeter Stadium on Saturday. From what I saw during that practice, I thought he was going to play on Monday. From how he looked, like the way he was moving around. I joked with him before practice, the defensive linemen were trying to hit the goalpost with footballs, and he came to like retrieve one. He's walking by me. I said, "Derek, you think you could dunk right now?" He said, "Yeah, I could dunk right now." So just not that answer right there. I was like, he's going to go on Monday. And when I saw that he was one of the inactives, I was a little surprised. But like we've seen the stat, I think it's 96 rushing yards per game. It was 96 rushing yards per game with him in the lineup. And before the Dolphins game, it was 192 without him, which is a 100-yard difference. That is obviously kind of shows either how important he is to that defense or the caliber of running back they played without him in the lineup. And Buffalo with James Cook. I think he missed a Buffalo game. Yeah, he missed a Buffalo game. I don't know. They did well against Devon Achane, who's a fast running back. They've talked all week about him wanting to get to the outside. They didn't really let him. I'd be more impressed with the Steelers' run defense, but Jahmyr Gibbs is probably one of the best running backs in the league. So, and you mentioned David Montgomery can come in and spell him and make an impact too. So we'll see. Like that kind of ties back in. This is a big test as it pertains to how they would look in the postseason.
No, certainly. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a test. But I will say, Alan did kind of mention this on the post game. Steelers running defense wise seem to do better against quarterbacks that aren't like a true dual threat. So like Jonathan Taylor or Daniel Jones. I know Daniel Jones can move, but that's not his forte. And then you had Tua, who I don't think is any more mobile than Aaron Rodgers, which is very weird.
And when he does get running, you kind of hold your breath. So
oh no, you hold your breath and clutch your seat. You just get ready. So all right, well, we're gonna highlight a couple more comments here before we close out. We got one. We did have a follow up from a gentleman who said that we're high schoolers. Said, "Nah, y'all killed it. We appreciate that." Please don't ID us when we go to the bars this weekend. I was kidding. We do have one question. It says, "Is Iron Board Pizza worth checking out? It's Detroit style in Pittsburgh." And I can't confirm that that's what it is, but I have never been able to try it because every time I go, they're closed. I don't know what it is. Even when they say they're open, they're closed. Now, granted, one of those days was New Year's Eve or something like that, New Year's Day. But Smitty, he has recommended it to me multiple times.
Yeah, I haven't been there either, but I was thinking about what to have for dinner before I came on here, so I've yet to eat it. So looks like I'm gonna go get a pizza. I think that sounds pretty good right now.
No, for sure. So, all right, folks. Well, we are going to sign off. It's the final whistle. We appreciate everyone signing on and joining us. I'm your host, Joe Morrison. You can find me at Joby Football on X. And Mr. Brendan, where can they find you if they're not familiar with your work?
You can find me at by Brendan Howe on X as well. I almost called it Twitter too. But yeah, they can find me there. Like you've mentioned a few times here, I'm in the locker room. I'm talking to players before or after games, after practice, sometimes before practice, depending on who talks when I get there tomorrow. That'll likely be Cam Hayward. So if you want to hear what he says tomorrow morning, right after he says it, I'll be here.
Heard on that. And don't forget to tune in to the morning rush, the afternoon drive, and every Wednesday you can find us here on the Steelers night shift. And Mr. Brennan, we appreciate you joining us tonight. Everyone, be sure to wear your ties next Wednesday, and let's see how Sunday goes. And be sure to get yourself some Detroit style pizza, even if it's just a $5 hot and ready.
There we go.